Love, we want it. Love, we need it. Love, we can have it. All we've gotta do is give a little love and trust. We want it. Trust, oh, we need it. Trust, well, we can have it. All we've gotta do is show a little trust. Well, it takes faith to try. When we try, it happens. And the more it happens, the more we believe. When we believe it's real, then it's real in our hearts. And that gives people faith to try. Here at the start, here at the start, we're here at the start. Truth, we want it. Truth, yes, we need it. Truth, we can take it. All we've gotta do is say the truth. And peace, we all want it. Peace, we really need it now. Peace, we can finally have it. All we've gotta do is believe in peace. Well, it takes faith to try. When we try, it happens. And the more it happens, the more we believe. When we believe it's real, then it's real in our hearts. And that gives people faith to try. Here at the start, we just need to give a little love. Here at the start, we just need to show a little trust. Here at the start, that's the truth. We just need to believe in peace. Here at the start.
Hello, CSL Santa Rosa. I am Reverend Russ Legear, and I am your prayer practitioner today. And I'd like to invite you to turn within now as we open our service with prayer. And how good it is to be in the presence of the divine, to recognize it, to know it, to see it, to feel it, to hear it, to taste it, to touch it, to just know that it is here now, that it is absolute wholeness, perfection, joy, wisdom, clarity, all that is good and more. And I know that I am one with it, just as I know that each and every one of us is one with this perfect divine presence. We are one with the one, and we are good. And so I bless our time shared here today, knowing that our hearts, our minds, are open to receive whatever it is that our spirit most desires out of this service today. I bless Reverend Tara as she is an open and perfect vessel through which the divine speaks today, knowing that she is in her wholeness, in her good. And I bless each and every heart and hand that has said yes to being a part of bringing this service, bringing this community together today. I know that each and every one of us is just living out this perfect divine good in our own individual ways, and that is so, so, so good. And so knowing this, I just rest in this goodness. And together we say, and so it is. All right, we are in August now, and I'm going to invite you to do our affirmation a little bit different today in respect of our safety considerations. So we will be putting it, we've got it up here for you, but what I'd invite you to do is speak this in your heart and in your mind, but not with your voice. Does that work? Okay, cool. I take time daily to pause in the stillness and listen for inner guidance. I embrace my lighthearted and playful nature. I re-emerge open and refreshed. So it is. All right, well, good morning. I'm also your host today. Hello. Thank you, Mr. Christopher Fritchie and the band, for that beautiful opening song. I'm so grateful for everything that you bring us. Yes, let's give him some love. And welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa. And I'm just so glad to be here with you today because today is a very exciting day, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you are joining us for the first time, we want to extend a special welcome to you. And if you haven't been back here in person in a long time, we also want to extend a special welcome for you. Thank you for coming here. We're so glad that you're here. And if you are on the live stream, we want to welcome you as well. Thank you for joining us from afar. We actually have some people who joined us from very far away as across the world. How cool is that? And know that you can always see what is going on here at our website, cslsr.org. Now, the super fun special announcement that I'm sure some of you are aware of, but I'll say it again, we are back to 2 services. Yay! Thank you so much for honoring our safety requirements. It's because of you honoring these safety requirements that we are able to have 2 services. So thank you. And did you know that we have a number of ways that you can give to Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa? You can give online on our website. You can send us a check, and there will be baskets at the exits today, too, if you would like to give in person. And just know that because we are a community-supported organization, we really appreciate your generosity because it's you who allows us to be here and to present this beautiful service and all of the wonderful things that go on throughout the week here. Now, at the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa, we are motivated by a vision of a healthy, loving world. It is known as the global vision, and it calls us to imagine a world that works for everyone. We see a world in which every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. And we do this through practice. This is practice that shows up as 5 pillars that uplift our community. The first is spiritual study, which expands our understanding through reading, learning, investigation, and honest self-reflection. The second is affirmative prayer, which I just opened us with, where we use the power of our word and consciousness to connect creatively with the divine. Meditation in all of its forms, which increases our awareness and experience of the divine presence through contemplation, concentration, and focus. Spiritual circulation, which opens up our community to the flow of life through balanced giving, receiving, asking for giving, and gratitude. And finally, selfless service, the spiritual practice of serving others without expectation of reward or a specific result. So please know that somewhere between the music, the meditation, the prayer, the practices, and message is exactly what you need to experience for the next step of your spiritual unfoldment. You are welcome here. Please sit back and enjoy the service.
People say the world is always speeding up, that there's hardly even time enough for love, that Mother Nature doesn't get things done the way that humans can, that we must never stand in the way of progress. It's time to slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. Time to take a breath and slow it down. Time to look around at where we are now, at what we've become, and where we're headed. It's time to slow it down. I don't buy what these Google folks are selling, that we should all be living at the speed of light. Seems like all these glowing screens are always yelling to fill my head and never give me peace of mind. It's time to slow it down, slow it down, slow it down now. Time to take a breath and slow it down. Time to look around at where we are now, at what we've become, and where we're headed. It's time to slow it down. Ooh, slow it down, down, down. Time to slow it down. Ooh, slow it down, down, down. Time to slow it down, slow it down, slow it down.
I knew that song was coming, so I'm intentionally slowing down. I am intentionally slowing down a bit. So, my topic this morning is time for a tune-up. How many of you, when you think of a tune-up, immediately go to taking your car into the mechanic? That's where I went, and I decided I really didn't like that analogy. We are so much more than a mechanical metal machine. We are human beings, spirit, expressing in our humanity. So as I worked on this talk and thought about it, I found another analogy that I like so much you'll probably get tired of it by the end of the talk. And that is the concertmaster who invites the musicians before a performance to tune to A, to find that perfect pitch. And so this morning I'm going to explore that analogy. First question is probably, how do I know if I need a tune-up? There's no little red or green button that shows up on my dashboard. For me, there are some very obvious signs. I lose patience. I get very judgmental. I start to finish people's sentences because I know what they're going to say. And sometimes I decide that I am the Lone Ranger and I have to charge off to save the world. I don't know if any of those symptoms are familiar for you. I suspect they might be. And now that you know my symptoms, please feel free to be my red or green button and tell me when I need a bit of tuning up. I also invite you to figure out what your signs are. How do you know you're a bit off-center, that you need to take a breath and pause, that there's a tension in you that doesn't belong in this sacred expression of the good? Get to know what those elements in your life are. There are also times when something drastic happens, when we're really knocked off our center and no one could expect us to be centered. There's a change in our circumstances, the loss of a dear one, a loss of a job or an expectation. And in those moments too, take a breath. Maybe you need to reach out to a friend or a colleague or a prayer practitioner to remind you of that fine, perfectly pitched A note that is the essence of who you are. Find that source. Find that power. Find that presence. Because when you're in that tuned place, that aligned place, where everyone around you is echoing, radiating, sounding that tone, that goodness, that one source, but uniquely and perfectly as you. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Last month, I talked about how the pandemic had knocked us off our center, that all of our routines, our expectations, our social activities were blown up, and we didn't have any idea what was coming. I said there was a gift in that, the gift of infinite possibility. Since nothing is predictable, everything is possible. There's also a challenge in that. We rest in our routines and our practices and our expectations so that we're not constantly having to scan for, what do I do now? What do I do now? What's next? What's coming? But we're in our place of knowing. That's again a place to stop and pause and breathe, to slow it down, as Chris's beautiful song said. And notice, who am I really? What is that note within me that is alive and perfect and centers me? The reason that members of an orchestra can sound their note, their perfect A, is they've practiced. They've practiced a lot on their own, in their sections, in rehearsals, so that by the time they get to their concert, they know it. They embody it. It's a part of who they are. It's part of their routine. Many of you may have heard one of Gandhi's aspirations, to, at the moment of his death, to say the sacred name of God for him, Ram. He had a practice when he was a child taught to him by his nurse of repeating, Hey Ram, Hey Ram, Hey Ram, as a way of taking this very rambunctious little boy who was always getting into all kinds of trouble and just having him slow down and be the being that he was. He left that practice for quite a while, and then a couple of years before his death, he began to adopt it again. It's called Ramanama, saying a sacred name. And because he had practiced it, when that assassin killed him, he fell saying, Hey Ram. That's why practice matters. It's easy to do when everything's beautiful and going well and you have all the time in the world. When you've practiced, it also comes in those hard and challenging times. Turning back to the orchestra analogy for a bit, each musician chooses what he is going to play. They're not assigned, okay, you look like a flute player, and oh, I see you're a clarinetist, and clearly you're a pianist. No, everyone chooses the one that brings their song, their music alive. And once they've chosen and identified their A, tone, and I'm wondering if my microphone has a tone because it's going in and out, then they settle into it and they bring their unique voice to the music. That special, special sound, which is still based in the one A, the one perfect tone, that oneness which expresses in so many ways. Practice. Russ, may I have your microphone, please? So I'm going to wait a moment, and I think maybe we need to shift to the green microphone because I'm going in and out too much. Or red microphone, sorry. And it's a time to just be. In a moment, I'm going to actually share a practice around just being. And in moments like this, if you're stuck in a line, waiting for something, don't stress that you're waiting for something. Just be. And see how long before you get antsy. For me, it may be 10 or 15 seconds, but I'm working on it. Okay, it looks like we're good to go, and Russ, you can have this back. So I want to talk now about our spiritual practices, the way that we as members of this community tune up. And I invite you, as you look for the ways you become present and alive, to find your practices. It might be meditation, it might be prayer, it might be a mindful walk or journaling. Find what works for you. After years of trying, for example, to really get into mindful walking, I decided my body was not designed for slow walking, and it was okay. I have many other spiritual practices. So I invite you to do the same. Find what really works for you. And the more you do that, the more you settle into that practice, the more present and available it is for you when you need it. When we're too busy, too distracted, too caught up in all the things that we get caught up in our day-to-day lives, we get out of practice and it's more difficult to drop in. The good news is, Source is resilient. So rather than beating yourself up about how you haven't been doing practice the way you should, just gently settle back into it and know its gift. Sometimes cues can help. At home, I have a special green chair in my bedroom, and it's only for sitting in prayer, in meditation, in contemplation. My 3-year-old granddaughter knows there's something special about that chair, but that doesn't stop her from climbing into it and sitting with her book and reading it. But she kind of does it in a meditative, quiet way, as much as a 3-year-old can. You may have other items like an altar, an image, a phrase, a mantra that you use. Find what you are alive to. That's probably my one talk that I give every time I speak. Find your voice. find your gift and find what brings you joy. If meditation is just not your thing, rather than struggling to make it work for you, find what does work for you. And that's what you want to be doing. Okay, don't just leave this on. Okay. Another moment to just be. Maybe I'm starting to One of the things that I notice is that sometimes the little strange things that happen, like microphones being wonky, are actually amazing gifts. I was starting to get kind of racy in talking. Not racy like, ooh, racy, but speedy. And this moment to pause, because I couldn't talk, because many of you wouldn't have heard me, got me recentered again. And it just takes a moment. It just takes a moment. That concertmaster saying, let's have the A. Your internal concertmaster saying, Tara, pay attention, take a breath. Last month, I was the person who did the spiritual practice for the Board of Trustees. And we did something that was akin to visioning, but not quite visioning. I'm going to quickly share it with you. And I think what I'm going to do is actually step into it a little more deeply, given the up and down of things. It starts, as we always start, by settling in to our inner sanctuary, our heart center, where there is absolutely nothing we need to do. We simply know we are seen, we are loved, we are safe. Seen, loved, and safe within our sanctuary. As we settle into that awareness and bask in it, notice if there's a quality of the divine or a quality of someone you admire that comes to you, not as something you think through and figure out, but just a quality, a feeling, a sense that arises, whatever that might be. Give it a name or a phrase and consider that quality of the divine or that quality of someone you admire. Rest fully in that quality. Let it surround you. Let it be in, through, and as you, for that is a good of the divine. Because we're not always very good at naming our own positive qualities, we begin here, recognizing a gift of the divine or of an admired person. Now there's an important next step. Gently reflect back on your week and notice one or two examples of how that quality you've been basking in shows up in your life. Little things, big things, whatever they are. Again, Don't figure it out. Just gently float along what occurred this past week that reflected that quality of the divine. Because, in fact, since it comes to your attention, it matters to you. It's a value you hold. And it's a value that lives out in your life. It's an example of your perfectly pitched tone, your expression of the divine. As you begin to come back into this moment in time, bring with you that sense of the quality and the ways in which it showed up this past week. Know, perhaps set an intention that this quality continues to unfold in your daily life. It is an essential part of who you are, of the good that you are. Know it so. Bless it. And as you're ready, come back into this present moment. Spiritual practice does not have to be complicated. It doesn't need to take self-help books or gurus or hours and hours and hours of effort-filled practice. It can simply be remembering and noticing your essential self. Earlier this week, I watched a TED Talk. A young man named Sam Burns was speaking, and his topic was his philosophy of happiness. Sam was 17 at the time of his talk, and he died less than a month later. He was one of less than 400 children living with a disease called progeria. That disease causes an incredible, drastic acceleration in aging, so that though he was only 17 and in high school, he looked like a very old man. People were constantly asking him what it was like to live with progeria. And he had recognized that that was not the theme of his life. He wanted to be happy and was happy. And here are a couple of his ways of being that I think are relevant to our tuning up ourselves. The first was, don't focus on what you can't do. That leads to grief and frustration and a whole bunch of stuff you don't want to be in the middle of. Focus on and celebrate what you can do. For example, Sam let go of his need to ride a ridiculous roller coaster or to run a marathon. But he celebrated his love of scouting, his passion for playing music, and the delights of comic books. That's what he focused on. Focus on what you can do and delight in it. The second piece was know what you want, what your dreams are. And those dreams can be possible. Don't immediately say, oh, well, I can't do that. That's not going to work for me. See if there's a way to bring your dream to life. One of Sam's examples was he really wanted to play the snare drums in a marching band. At the time he was wanting to do that, he weighed about 50 pounds, which was a whole lot less than a couple of snare drums in harness. his band director graciously organized so that he could play some other percussion instruments in the pit during halftime. And he said, yeah, that was nice, but it wasn't marching with snare drums. So he figured out, with some help from friends and an engineer, how to redesign the harness setup so that he could march. And in that TED Talk, there's a brief video of him marching. He is proud and he is enthusiastic, and at the end, you actually can hear his voice shouting out the end of the song. That was his dream, and he knew he wanted it, and he got there. Remember what Henry Ford reminds us: if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So I often point to some of the hidden treasures in the Science of Mind textbook. And usually they're way at the back of the book. I think last month I talked about the concordance. This talk points you to the glossary, which is where Holmes talks about various terms he uses in the textbook. So I was browsing there actually this morning and looking at things like faith and surrender and trust. And I happened to come to his short little essay on silence. And I'm going to read that to you as a kind of closing blessing before we move into prayer. So let me move ahead because I merely gave my talk without having to look at my notes. And actually, I do want to say one more thing before I read Holmes. I invite you to close your eyes again as I raise my metaphorical violin bow as concert master and settle into the place where you hear your perfect pitch. And in your heart, say, "This is who I am. This is my perfect pitch, my A note." Breathe into that. This is who I am. Claim your unique expression of the divine, the only one that you can offer. It takes some practice, and mainly it takes tuning in. Tune in and know who you are and your song. So here is what Holmes had to say about silence. Silence is used oftener and perhaps less understood than any one word in the terminology of the metaphysician. There is no place we must go for the silence. There is no particular posture we must assume. There is no formula we must repeat. We enter this inner tabernacle by whatever route we may. Some people live in such conscious unity with good that instantly they can turn within and direct the avenues they wish the good to take. Others need to approach by prayer, by singing, by reading a verse from the Bible, by repeating an inspirational poem. If we know that God is forever right where we are, we shall not be reaching out in every direction for God. We shall enter the inner chamber of our mind and close the door on all discord and confusion and commune with our God, our spiritual consciousness, our Mother, Father within. The silence is our communion with Spirit, our awareness of our unity with good, our understanding that the Spirit within doeth the work. Tune in to the good that is alive in you in every moment. Then sing your joyous song with all your heart. Please join me in prayer. Within all that is, around it, beyond it, and as it, is the good. That one that creates, informs, breathes, loves, is absolutely all that is. Way beyond our imagining, way beyond anything we think or say or do. And that one sounds within us the perfect note of goodness, of perfection, of love, of grace, of wisdom and power. Listen for that note that manifests itself in incredible ways. It is in, through, and as each one of us. It is the tone that brings forth the magnificent music of the world. Knowing this truth, I know for everyone hearing this word in this moment, the song is alive in their hearts. The song is tuned in as the presence and delight of the one. And anything that mutes or holds back that exquisite music melts away in this moment, for it has no place in spirit. Knowing this, I celebrate. I am grateful. I am in wonder and awe of that all in all that I call dearest, beloved Spirit. In this awareness, I release this word into law, into love, into yes, knowing it done. And so it is.
Good morning. I'm Randy Coleman, one of your trustees, and I am so pleased to be here in person this morning with some announcements for you. I thought it was going to be great not staring into a computer camera, but now I have the lights to play with, so here we go. Registration for our fall classes is open on our website, www.cslsr.org. Early bird discounts are available. Our core and spiritual enrichment classes are a fantastic way to supercharge your spiritual evolution and are a great way to stay engaged with our community. Be sure to check them out today and sign up for any classes that call to you. Please note that the registration deadline for Reverend Tara's class, Spiritual Principles and Practices, is today at 5 p.m. Pacific Time. She is offering both a morning and an evening class, so be sure to sign up today if you're interested. If you're looking for a great midweek spiritual pick-me-up, you can join Wednesday Night Live this Wednesday, August 4th at 7 p.m. We will have a special guest presenter, Rabbi George Gittleman from over here at Congregation Shamrei Torah. Full Circle, our discussion group on death and dying, will be meeting today from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. on Zoom. You can find the Zoom link on our website. Our life visioning group is now open to the public. You can join us on Zoom to vision for yourself in the center every Monday from 12:15 to 1 p.m. Finally, nominations are open for our 2022 nonprofit partners. While we welcome all nominations, this year we are especially interested in receiving nominations of organizations that promote conservation, environmental solutions, and climate wellness. The nomination form is on our website. Blessings to all of you for being here today, and thank you so much for being part of this incredible spiritual community. And thank you, Reverend Tara, for preparing me for the unique experience to be up here with a microphone. Thank you.
When I discovered religious science, I loved that it gathered my Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, and other spiritual traditions within a philosophy of oneness that also celebrated diversity. Next, I learned the power of my thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions. They were linked to my experiences in life. As they changed, my experiences would change. Now my practice is to do my best to assure that my beliefs reflect who I am and what I value, and that who I am reflects my beliefs. Exploring that alignment is the heart of the class I am teaching in August. Come join the conversation about what matters to us and how we embody those values in our lives. Class starts on Monday, August 2nd.
I'm excited to be coming to the center to share with you some thoughts on the topic, the world could be otherwise. I think the subject of the world could be otherwise is so familiar to the work at the Center for Spiritual Living, because the idea is that as human beings, we have the ability to imagine not the world we have now, but the world that could be. And that ability to imagine a world that could be otherwise means that we can make a way where there's no way in our personal life. And we can create a reality, not just for us, but for the world through our imagination. Like an artist can imagine a painting or a song or a poem and bring it into being through that human gift of imagination and creativity and also resilience. All important qualities for life in general, and especially in these days. And with all the challenges we face, we need to dig down deep and tap into the ability to imagine a world that could be otherwise. So I look very much forward to being with you and sharing some ideas inspired by the book called The World Could Be Otherwise.
So I invite you to stand and gently, behind your masks, repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening to me right now. It is this thing called life. Life is in my body, life is in my mind, and life is in my affairs. I think it, I feel it, and I accept it, just the way that it is, and just the way that it is not. Thank you, life. Know with me that right where you are is spirit, that you have only to look within to be aware of that presence that is with you and within you and around you every single moment. That is the essence of who you are. And as you move through your life, let it be reflected in all that you say and think and do, for that is who you are. Thank you for being here. I invite you, if you choose to join in after-service prayer, our personal prayer, which will be at 10, and at noon, which gives you some time to make the second round. And now some music to close us out.
Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy